The moment Adam Silver dropped his bombshell comment about Caitlin Clark, the WNBA world exploded, and not in the way you might think. You see, in a league known for fierce competition and unspoken rivalries, Silver didn't just praise any player. He put Caitlin Clark on a pedestal so high, it sent jealous shockwaves rippling through locker rooms and fan bases alike. For years, WNBA players and some diehard fans have quietly seethed, resenting Clark's unstoppable rise. They look at the numbers, sure, sell-out arenas, record-breaking TV ratings, fans paying premium prices just to witness her magic live, and they can't stand it. It's like their secret weapon, their star asset, is suddenly the target of envy and whispers in the shadows. And now, the NBA commissioner, the face of all things basketball authority, just validated what the Clark fans have been saying all along, that she's the moneymaker, the game changer, the reason the WNBA is finally grabbing the spotlight it deserves. But here's the kicker. This isn't just about statistics or TV ratings. This is a cultural earthquake shaking the foundation of women's basketball. It's about identity, pride, and who gets to control the narrative in a league still fighting for equal footing. When Adam Silver, the boss of the NBA, and by extension, the WNBA, says she's the one driving the bus, he's not just acknowledging a player, he's challenging old power structures, calling out those who downplay her impact, and lighting a fire under a league simmering with jealousy and resistance. For every fan paying over $100 to see Clark take over an NBA arena, there's a player or critic watching with clenched fists, simmering with resentment. This is the moment when admiration and envy collide in the spotlight. And trust me, the fallout is just getting started. But what exactly did Adam Silver say that left the entire WNBA world buzzing and furious? What happens next will change the game forever. To truly understand why Adam Silver's words cut deep and lit a powder keg, we need to zoom out and see the bigger picture, the hard-fought journey of the WNBA, the cultural battles waged behind the scenes, and the seismic shift Caitlin Clark represents. The WNBA has never been just a sports league. It's been a battleground for representation, a showcase of resilience by women, and especially women of color, who refuse to be sidelined in a male-dominated arena. Every sellout crowd, every national TV broadcast carries the weight of decades of struggle against a society that often overlooks them. So when someone like Caitlin Clark bursts onto the scene, commanding packed arenas and viral ratings, it's not just about points scored. It's about claiming space and demanding respect. Clark's rise has shattered old assumptions. She's the first to pull in crowds at rival NBA games, not just in raw numbers, but in the intensity of passion. Fans pay top dollar to see her, showing up hours early, selling out arenas coast to coast. No more $6 tickets or lukewarm support. This is a new era where women's basketball draws fans willing to invest their time and money, because Clark brings a kind of magic that's impossible to ignore. Adam Silver's recognition is a clear signal. The WNBA is no longer niche. It's the future. But this shift hasn't come without pushback. Inside the league, tensions simmer. Old fan bases who clung to previous stars feel sidelined. Some players, once iconed themselves, see Clark as a threat, a lightning rod drawing the spotlight and reshuffling power dynamics. There's whispered rivalry, not just on court but off, with jealousy fueling rumors and harsh critiques. And when the commissioner publicly declares she's driving the bus, it's a disruption, almost a challenge to those who believe they own the narrative. This moment also taps into something bigger, identity. For many immigrant families and communities historically shut out of mainstream sports, Caitlin Clark's meteoric rise isn't just inspirational. It's a rightful reclaiming of pride. To see someone break through barriers, shine in a space traditionally dominated by established names, feels like a broader win for diversity and opportunity. Silver's comments echo that spirit, signaling that the game is evolving, welcoming fresh faces who redefine what success looks like. But it's not just about feelings and identity. Silver, sharp as ever, knows the business side. The WNBA's ratings are surging because she captivates viewers like no one else. Networks are paying up, sponsors lining up. Without Clark, the league's negotiating power would be nowhere near this level. She's become not only a symbol but an economic powerhouse, lifting everyone in the WNBA with her star. Yet, the stakes couldn't be higher. If jealousy and rivalry grow too toxic, if the league doesn't protect its brightest star, the momentum could stall. The question now: will those inside the WNBA embrace Clark as the future, or will old resentments threaten to pull the league backward? As the eyes of fans worldwide fixate on this unfolding saga, one thing is clear: this is more than a game. It's a turning point for respect, recognition, and the soul of women's basketball. And as Silver's words continue to reverberate, the tension in locker rooms thickens, preparing fans and players alike for the explosive conflict still to come. Behind every hero's rise, there's a shadow. And in Caitlin Clark's story, that shadow is cast by the simmering jealousy and deep resentment swirling within the WNBA ranks, played out by a mix of veteran players, old-school fan factions, and key figures defending a fading order. These are the voices whispering doubts, undermining praise, and trying hard to dim the brightest star on the court. You'll hear about them in whispered locker room conversations and sharp-tongued social media remarks. How Clark is a media darling. How her rapid ascent threatens the league's balance. How she needs the WNBA more than it needs her. One of the most notorious is Kathy Engelberg, a name that echoes with controversy in these circles. Engelberg's alleged comments downplaying Clark's value, suggesting that the young phenom is more reliant on the league than the other way around. Cut deep. It's a cold attempt to clip Clark's wings while defending those who feel threatened by her shine. Remember, this isn't just professional rivalry. It's a clash of narratives. On one side, the old guard protective of their spots, suspicious of Clark's looming dominance. On the other, a fresh athlete rewriting the rules, demanding attention beyond the usual gatekeepers. Behind closed doors, these tensions boil over. Some players have been known to target Clark aggressively, both on and off the court. Injuries, hostile matchups, whispers of headhunting. These are not merely about games, but power struggles disguised as competition. Social media adds gasoline to this fire. Fans defending Clark are met with venomous backlash from those loyal to the players who feel eclipsed. Hashtags become battlefields. Memes are wielded as weapons, and the comment sections turn into gladiator arenas pitting old loyalties against new faith. For immigrant families and young fans seeing themselves in Clark, this conflict feels deeply personal, a victory for identity, representation, and change that those clinging to the past resist fiercely. Meanwhile, Adam Silver's public praise, calling Clark a global phenomenon, the moneymaker, and the player driving the league forward, only fans the flames. Silver is no stranger to controversy himself, often criticized for how he's handled NBA politics and social issues. But here, he draws a clear line, breaking silence in ways that unsettle the fragile egos and power brokers around the WNBA. Silver's voice lends legitimacy not just to Clark's talent, but to the broader transformation she symbolizes. This villainous backlash flows from fear as much as envy. It's fear that Clark's meteoric success will rewrite contracts, expand the league faster, and shift sponsorships toward a new generation hungry for equality and truth. It's the classic fight between preservation and progress, between the comfort of old hierarchies and the electric promise of a reimagined league. These critics accuse Clark of overshadowing teammates, claiming the spotlight should be shared. But the truth remains, without Clark, the WNBA is still playing catch-up. Yet, for every harsh word thrown at Clark, a deeper insecurity pulses beneath. The league she disrupts, the system she challenges. These villains know their time is running out. Players jealous of her success simultaneously need her to keep the league afloat, making this rivalry both bitter and codependent. It's a drama of contrasts. Dignity versus arrogance, tradition versus innovation, unity versus division. And Clark stands right in the middle, unbowed. What makes this tension even more gripping is the way it exposes the fissures beneath the surface of a league building toward greatness. It's more than basketball. It's a cultural crucible where identity, economics, and power collide. Will jealousy poison the well, or will Clark's brilliance forge a new path for everyone? The answer isn't just about who wins on the scoreboard, but who claims the narrative for the future. And as the venomous backlash builds, the stage is set for the real hero story. Caitlin Clark's rise from the center of the storm to a beacon of endurance and hope. The contrast couldn't be clearer. the petty bitterness of the detractors against the radiant resilience of a player who refuses to be erased. What happens next is a battle for respect, legacy, and the very soul of the WNBA. And you won't want to miss a single moment of this gripping saga. Every great story needs a hero, and Caitlin Clark is exactly that. She's not just a basketball player. She's a blazing comet streaking across the WNBA sky, carrying dreams, hopes, and the weight of an entire league on her shoulders. But her path to this electric stardom was anything but easy. It's a story of talent, grit, and relentless perseverance that resonates deeply with anyone who's ever felt underestimated, overlooked, or forced to prove themselves again and again. Clark didn't come from a privileged background or a basketball dynasty. She grew up in a world where opportunities for girls and women in sports were few and far between, especially on the grand stages. But she had something that can't be taught, an unquenchable fire burning in her soul. From her early days on outdoor courts to dominating college arenas, Clark's journey is a testament to what happens when raw talent meets ironclad will. Her rise to prominence was quick, but hard-earned. Scouts and analysts were stunned by a player who could control the game like no one else, effortlessly hitting mind-boggling shots, threading impossible passes, and carrying her team through brutal battles. But behind every three-pointer and highlight reel is a story of sacrifice. Years of early mornings, grueling workouts, and moments when doubt crept in, threatening to pull her down. What's powerful about Clark's story, though, is its universality. For immigrants and newcomers watching closely, her journey feels like a mirror of their own struggles, navigating unfamiliar terrain, facing bias and obstacles, yet managing to shine through sheer determination. Clark embodies a pride that goes beyond basketball. She represents a new kind of American dream, one where identity, perseverance, and excellence don't just coexist, they thrive. But it wasn't just the physical pressure that challenged her. As Clark's star rose, so did the scrutiny. She became the center of a storm swirling with envy and doubt. Media narratives questioned if she was ready for the big leagues, if her fame was deserved, and whether the WNBA was blowing her out of proportion. Yet, through all the noise, Clark remained unshaken. Her composure quietly told a different story, a story of steel beneath the spotlight, of a young woman claiming her rightful place. Clark's impact stretches beyond the stat sheet. She's inspired a wave of young fans, especially girls who see their potential in her. The arenas filled with diverse crowds reflect not just fandom, but a movement. Her style is electric, her passion contagious. This is someone who not only plays the game, but changes it, raising the bar for what's possible. What makes Clark truly heroic is how she carries this burden not as a solitary star, but as a team player and league ambassador. She handles relentless physicality on the court, the subtle and overt challenges thrown her way, with relentless focus and grace. She fights for every point, every moment under the lights, knowing she's not just playing for herself, but for a future generation. In the broader basketball world, comparisons abound. Some call her the Steph Curry of the WNBA for her shooting range and flair. Others point to the competitive spirit of Larry Bird. Yet Clark merges those influences to carve out a unique identity that's all her own. She isn't just standing on the shoulders of legends. She's building a new platform for those who come after. And as the league grapples with jealousy and resistance, Clark's legacy grows. She isn't just a prize or a draw for advertisers. She's a living symbol of transformation. The numbers back it up. Record attendance, unprecedented ratings, sponsors clamoring for a piece of the action. But what the numbers don't capture is the emotional connection Clark has forged with fans who see in her a reflection of their own hopes and struggles. Her story is far from finished. With every game, every clutch shot, she pushes the envelope further. But she also faces immense pressure that would break many others. Injuries, grueling travel, and the harsh reality of a league still fighting for equality don't slow her down. They forge her into something greater. The stage is set. Caitlin Clark is no longer just a promising talent. She is the beating heart of the WNBA's future, a hero disrupting old orders and demanding recognition. And as a storm brews around her, the jealousy, the challenges, the high stakes, one truth stands tall. This is a story of resilience, courage, and triumph that inspires a nation to believe in change. But even heroes face dark nights. What happens when the heat of rivalry turns personal? When the very league she lifts tries to hold her back? The battle ahead won't just test her skills on the court. It will test her soul. As Caitlin Clark's star continued to rise, so did the heat surrounding her presence in the WNBA. The league, already a battleground of talent and fiery personalities, began to crackle with tension. What started as quiet jealousy simmering behind closed doors erupted into full-blown drama, played out both on social media and under the glaring spotlight of national broadcasts. It all came to a head when Adam Silver made his pointed remarks about Clark's explosive popularity, not just acknowledging her as a standout player, but as a very force driving the bus for the entire league. For some, these words were a breath of fresh air, a long overdue recognition. For others, particularly a faction of veteran WNBA players, it was an unbearable slight, an insult that exposed shifting power dynamics they hadn't prepared to face. The verbal sparring intensified rapidly. Interviews turned hostile, with some players indirectly questioning Clark's legitimacy and dedication, while others got blatantly defensive on social media. The usual sports banter morphed into pointed jabs, revealing not just competition, but a deep-seated culture clash. The old guard worried their legacies were being overshadowed. Some accused Clark of monopolizing media attention and league resources, sparking a coalition of resentment. Meanwhile, Clark's camp stayed remarkably composed. Her quiet confidence spoke volumes amid the noise, a calm within a storm that only heightened her heroic stature. She refused to get drawn into petty arguments, instead letting her game do the talking. Every electrifying basket, every clutch moment on the court was a subtle counterpunch to her critics, a reminder that talent trumps bitterness. But the pressure mounted beyond words. Reports circulated of more aggressive tactics, players physically targeting Clark during games, fouling harder, and pushing the limits of sportsmanship. Rumors of headhunting surfaced, making it clear this wasn't just a battle for headlines, but a real, raw fight for survival and supremacy in one of the most competitive leagues on the planet. Social media exploded in response. Fans divided into camps, some staunchly defending Clark as a symbol of progress and a new era of women's basketball, others rallying behind the veterans who felt threatened by her meteoric rise. Hashtags like #TeamClark and #RespectVets trended in alternating cycles, turning Twitter and Instagram comment sections into battlegrounds. And in this digital theater, identities clashed. Young fans from immigrant and marginalized communities saw Clark as their hero, while older, more traditional fandoms dug in their heels, refusing to give way. Even mainstream media couldn't resist the drama. Sports analysts debated fiercely on air, pitting Clark's statistical dominance and charisma against questions of league unity and respect for veterans. Some commentators argued that Clark's fame was good for the WNBA, pulling in record numbers and securing lucrative broadcast deals. Others warned the growing hostility festered dangerous divisions that could fracture the very league she was meant to uplift. At the center of it all, Adam Silver remained a silent puppeteer, his rare public endorsements of Clark only fueling the fire further. His willingness to call her the money maker and acknowledge her global reach unsettled many within the league's hierarchy. Behind the scenes, whispers floated about meetings between Silver and WNBA leadership, discussing ways to capitalize on Clark's fame while trying to contain the brewing unrest among players and fans. Yet, for all the smoke and mirrors, one thing was clear. This conflict revealed more than just a rivalry. It exposed how deeply the WNBA is evolving from a league once struggling for survival into a cultural powerhouse where old dynamics no longer hold. Clark's rise was a catalyst of change, shaking foundations and forcing everyone involved to reconsider what the sport represents and who gets to shape its future. But as tensions escalated, a question loomed larger than any hot take or viral clip. In the swirling storm of jealousy and admiration, could Clark remain the unshakable hero of the league, and her new generation of fans desperately needed? The answer would come soon enough. And when it did, it set the stage for a showdown that no one would forget, one where confidence meets confrontation and courage faces its toughest test. In every great saga, there comes a moment when a hero steps up, not with fury or shouting, but with unshakable calm, delivering a response so powerful it silences critics and flips the script entirely. For Caitlin Clark, That moment arrived amid a storm of skepticism and hostility, a defining chapter where she reclaimed her narrative and set the WNBA world on fire for all the right reasons. This wasn't some impulsive outburst. It was a strategic masterclass performance in poise and power, a testament to why she isn't just a moneymaker, but the league's undisputed heart and soul. Every word she's spoken, every basket she sunk, and every moment of grace under pressure led to this crescendo. It began off the court, away from the glare of media and the harshness of public opinion. Clark's team, advisors, and advocates carefully planned how she would cut through the noise. Instead of engaging in petty social media spats or locker room backlashes, Clark let facts, figures, and moments speak on her behalf. And then, in a dazzling public forum, a high-profile interview, and a series of intense in-game performances, the world witnessed a controlled dismantling of the doubts and jeers. The interview was electric, charged with tension, but delivered with steady faith in her own truth. For the first time, Clark openly confronted the narrative that she was merely a media darling or someone who needed the WNBA more than they needed her. She flipped that old script by highlighting the undeniable impact she's had on the league's growth, the attendance records, the unprecedented ratings, and the unprecedented enthusiasm from diverse fans nationwide. Her voice wasn't angry. It was resolute, calm, and impossibly confident, a stark contrast to the venom hurled at her behind the scenes. On the court, Clark's game turned ruthless. Each match became a statement. Every point an answer to the haters. She pushed herself harder than ever, chasing triple-doubles, breaking scoring records, and demonstrating not just talent but leadership. Referees were forced to acknowledge the collision course she was on, often fouled aggressively, but rarely seeing the calls she deserved. Some argued she should be getting special whistles for the physical toll she endured each night. But Clark bore the bruises with dignity, wearing every scrape as a badge of honor in her fight to push the league upward. And the crowd roared louder than ever. Social media exploded mid-game with viral clips of her clutch shots and fearless drives. Hashtags surged, celebrities tweeted praise, and analysts scrambled to redefine what it meant to be a WNBA superstar. It was a shift no one could ignore. Clark was no longer just a rising star. She was the architect of a revolution in women's basketball viewership and enthusiasm. The real mic drop came when Adam Silver, watching closely, doubled down on his earlier praise. In an exclusive sit-down interview soon after, Silver did not hesitate to call Caitlin Clark the most influential figure in women's basketball right now. He praised her ability to attract millions of eyeballs to the game and openly discussed the league's strategic plans built heavily around Clark's appeal. This was no corporate platitude. It was an admission from the top that she was a definitive currency of the WNBA's future. The people who doubted her suddenly faced the hard truth. Clark wasn't just important. She was indispensable. Yet, what made this counterattack so mesmerizing wasn't just winning the numbers game or fame. It was the spirit behind it. Clark reclaimed the narrative not with arrogance but with humility, with an understanding that her victories were tied to a larger mission, elevating women's basketball as a beacon for equality, inspiration, and pride for marginalized communities. Fans, many of them immigrant families long, underrepresented in sports, found in Clark a glimmer of something deeper, defiance against the odds, respect for her hard work, and the courage to rewrite the rules. But as her star ascended, the villainous backlash didn't vanish. It intensified, locked in the crosshairs of envy. Some players doubled down on their harsh tactics. Fouls became more aggressive, whispers more venomous. Rumors of blackballing and strategic isolation bubbled beneath the surface. The league's fragile unity trembled under the weight of jealousy and insecurity. Yet Clark stood undeterred. Each night, she demonstrated that strength wasn't just physical, it was mental and moral. She led by example, inspiring teammates and fans alike to rise above the noise and believe in the power of change. This was the hero the WNBA needed, someone equal parts warrior and ambassador, challenger and unifier. The stage was set for ripple effects that would forever alter the league's landscape. Contract negotiations, expansion discussions, sponsorship deals, and even greater media contracts now tied to Clark's influence. Adam Silver's growing public support sent a clear message. The league would protect its crown jewel, and anyone threatening that status would have to answer to the commissioner himself. It was a subtle but powerful shift in power, signaling that old grudges might cost more than just pride moving forward. As the dust settled from this defining response, one undeniable truth emerged. Caitlin Clark's counterattack was not just a comeback. It was a declaration. The WNBA's future was hers to shape. The hero had spoken, and the world listened. But this victory was only the opening act. The social media storm was just beginning, and the league's reaction would ripple far beyond the hardwood floors. The moment Caitlin Clark unleashed her defining counterattack, the digital world ignited. Social media platforms became battlegrounds where millions reacted, debated, and rallied. A modern-day coliseum filled not with swords, but with hashtags, tweets, and viral videos. The aftermath wasn't just noise. It was a seismic shift in the way the WNBA was perceived, discussed, and celebrated. On Twitter, hashtag Caitlin Clark Fever exploded overnight. Fans flooded feeds with clips of her clutch shoots, dazzling assists, and unyielding spirit. The buzz wasn't just confined to WNBA diehards, but surged across mainstream sports communities, catching the eyes of celebrities, influencers, and even critics who couldn't help but acknowledge her impact. This wave of support transcended borders, cultures, and generations, making Clark not just a league star, but a global icon. Memes celebrated her fearless style and resilience, championing her as the game-changer who challenged norms and opened doors for the next generation of athletes. Meanwhile, detractors found their spoilers drowned in an outpouring of love and respect. Social media wasn't just entertainment. It was the pulse of a movement demanding recognition and equality in one of the most marginalized corners of professional sports. Not everyone was thrilled by this digital uprising. Veteran players known for their skepticism toward Clark watched the rising tide with growing unease. Behind the scenes, the chatter shifted from on-court battles to off-court tensions. Forums buzzed with debates about fairness, legacy, and what it meant to share the spotlight in a league so hungry for growth. The very players who had once dominated now found themselves both clinging to their status and forced to confront a future shaped by an emerging superstar. Among the many voices amplifying the controversy were sports analysts and commentators who seized upon the moment to dissect the complex dynamics at play. National broadcasts devoted segments to explore Clark's meteoric rise and the jealousy it invoked. Some framed it as a healthy rivalry essential for competition. Others warned that unchecked bitterness risked fracturing league unity at a crucial inflection point. Yet all agreed, Clark was a force impossible to ignore. WNBA's leadership felt the pressure as well, navigating the swirl of social media storms while planning how to leverage Clark's newfound power for expansion and commercial growth. Adam Silver's visible backing of Clark sent a strong message to teams and players alike. This young star was a cornerstone of the league's future. Behind closed doors, that influence translated into strategic discussions, greater investment in marketing, securing broadcasting deals, and crafting a narrative that placed Clark at the center of the WNBA story. This momentum rippled beyond professional circles. Social media amplified voices from grassroots communities, young fans, and immigrant families who saw in Clark a reflection of their dreams and struggles. Their flooded posts and testimonials gave the movement a soul. This was not just about basketball, but about identity, resilience, and hope. Clark became the embodiment of possibility in the face of adversity, inspiring not only sports enthusiasts, but anyone who's ever fought to be seen. But while the online celebration soared, the darker undercurrents of envy persisted. Stories leaked to players growing resentful, pushing back in subtle and overt ways. The sharp divide threatened division, the very opposite of the unity Clark and her supporters championed. Many wondered if the league's governing bodies had the will to protect Clark from the simmering hostility, or if old rivalries would pull the sport backward just as it reached its tipping point. So as hashtags trended and post after post went viral, the question looming larger than ever was no longer just about ratings or revenue. It was about the soul of the WNBA. Can a league built on resilience and progress survive the jealousy it has awakened within? Can a star whose rise symbolizes hope withstand the pressure without losing the spark that made her a phenomenon? Fans and analysts alike held their breath, watching the landscape transform in real time. The answer would echo not just in locker rooms or boardrooms, but through every court, every game, and every fan who believed new chapters of possibility had finally arrived. And just as the digital storm reached fever pitch, one thing was undeniable. The revolution Caitlin Clark ignited was far from over. The saga was unfolding live, ready to reshape the future of women's basketball in ways no one could have predicted. In the thundering chaos of rivalry, resentment, and raw competition, Caitlin Clark did what heroes do. She rose above. The noise, the venom, the backroom politics, all of it faded beneath the undeniable truth of resilience and dignity. Clark's journey isn't just a sports story. It's a beacon of hope in a world hungry for justice, representation, and the audacity to break barriers. Her ascent embodies a universal truth. No amount of envy or opposition can dim the light of someone driven by purpose and passion. Clark's impact reaches far beyond points and ratings. She is a symbol for every marginalized voice fighting for recognition, a living testament that perseverance and authenticity carve paths where once there were walls. Adam Silver's public championing of Clark underscored this shift. His rare acknowledgement wasn't just about one athlete, but a broader commitment to justice in sports. It signaled a watershed moment when dignity triumphs over arrogance, when courage commands respect, and when a league finally embraces a change demanded by a new generation. Clark's story is a living lesson in identity, pride, and unyielding determination, messages that resonate deeply with immigrant communities and every fan seeking representation on the grand stage. The jealous backlash fades in the light of what Clark represents: the power of belief, unity, and the transformative spirit of sport to transcend barriers. As the WNBA moves into a new era shaped by Clark's extraordinary influence, the moral is clear. Greatness is not merely measured in trophies or applause, but in the courage to be unapologetically yourself in a world that often pushes back. Clark teaches us that true power lies in uplifting others while never compromising your own integrity. Her journey redefines what it means to be a champion, one who breaks ceilings, inspires communities, and lifts the collective spirit. For immigrant families watching, her triumph is a quiet roar of validation, a resounding, "Yes, we belong." The WNBA's future, intertwined with Clark's legacy, holds promise beyond the court. It's a promise that challenges old prejudices, celebrates diversity, and enshrines respect as a foundation for progress. This is a call to arms for fans and players alike. To reject bitterness, embrace growth, and honor the pioneers daring to change the game. And so, as we close this chapter of triumph over turmoil, the message is clear and electrifying. Justice, dignity, and pride are unstoppable forces when fueled by authentic courage. Caitlin Clark's rise is not just a win for basketball. It's a victory for every voice demanding to be heard, every dream daring to be chased. The story continues, the movement grows, and the legacy shines brighter. To remind us all that in the fight for respect and equality, heroes will always rise. Now, as we wrap this all up, remember the title that started it all: Adam Silver's comments on Caitlin Clark's impact that have the WNBA world buzzing. And yes, some players mad as hell. This isn't just gossip or hype. It's a seismic moment for women's basketball, for identity, for pride. Caitlin Clark is not only the game changer everyone talks about, she's the spark igniting a new era. This story reminds us that progress is never easy. Change shakes foundations, rouses jealousy, and forces tough conversations. But through it all, the courage to stand tall like Clark turns challenges into triumph. It's a lesson for every fan rooting for justice and every player breaking barriers under the brightest lights. If you believe in celebrating talent, diversity, and the stories that inspire us all, then be part of this movement. Subscribe now for no-holds-barred truths and dramatic journeys that bring the real stories behind the headlines. Share your thoughts below. How do you see Caitlin Clark's rise shaping the future? What battles do you want us to dive into next? And don't forget, the game is far from over. The drama, the triumph, the fight for respect. It's just beginning. Stay tuned. Keep that fire alive, and let's watch history unfold together. Thanks for joining us today. Like, comment, subscribe, and be ready for everything that's coming next. Peace. I'm out.